Hey, how's it going? It's John Shevlin here in Rathmines Chronic Pain and Sports Injury Clinic. Wanted to bring you a short-ish video on a self-movement screen or check that you can do to see, is there a restriction somewhere? Is there a pain somewhere that really shouldn't be there? There's a lot of people, it's January, people are exercising like crazy, going all gung-ho, especially this year. So I thought I'd put something out, put it on YouTube, put it on Instagram, send it all to my past clients. So it's going to go out to a few thousand people. So hopefully this is going to be helpful, but it's a really, really quick check. So the first one that I wanted to go over was a shoulder check. Really simple. You're just going to bring your arms up and back down a couple of times, making sure you've got good range of motion. They should hit off your ears. They shouldn't be in front of your ears. There should be no pain with this. There shouldn't be any noise with this. Sometimes it's quite a clunky movement. This should be pretty smooth. The next shoulder one that we want to do is to bring the arms out in front. This should be straight up, right by your ears. You shouldn't have to lift your rib cage to do it or lean back to do it. The next one we want to do is take our shoulder. It's called a scarf test, and you're bringing it across you there. Fine to feel a bit of a stretch or a pull along here. Not fine to feel it in here. People say, oh, it feels tight in there. That's called compression. Not our structures bashing off each other. They should not be there. This should be a painless test. Look, implications, if you are starting to lift overhead, even in front of you with a chest press or pull, and you have limited range of motion, you're going to sacrifice good movement quality. It's going to cause a problem either where you can't move or where you're moving too much. So you're going to find an elbow problem or a neck problem or a rib cage problem because your shoulder doesn't move as freely as it should. So if we could avoid that, that would be great. Next is we want to have a squat. Squat can be feet just a bit about shoulder width apart, if not wider. Down we go. How low can you go? So can you break parallel? If you get to parallel, that's okay, but you should be able to break parallel. The heels should stay down on the floor. Front view, those knees should be in line with your second toe. Check yourself. Are they caving in for you or not? Implications, if the knees are caving in, when you're even just walking, but especially if you're running, you're putting pressure on the inside of your knee, damaging those structures in there. You're also creating a very tight groin for yourself and creating a pinch in the front of the hip. If the ankles aren't moving, and we're going to do a secondary ankle check now in a second, but if the ankles don't move, anywhere where there's not movement, where there should be, will send a force up or down the chain. And this is where virtually everyone that comes into me with a knee problem has a restricted ankle. And they'll have it different on one side than the other. It's not always on the painful side. So we're looking for that restriction. Let's do the ankle check right now. Now, this is where ideally you would go to the wall, stick your toe up against the wall, and the other one's behind it. We'll have to pretend for this. You drop straight down, heel stays down. How far can you bring your knee forwards? It should land at least middle of your ankle joint. Forwards is great, but if it's behind that, another confirmation you have a very strict ankle. That won't always be seen on the squat because our feet may turn out too much, and that can be hiding that ankle problem. So really worthwhile checking for that. If you're unsure on the squat, you can also add a single leg squat. Reaching down in front of you with the other leg, where does this knee go? Does it track inwards or is it knee over second toe, good form and alignment? So another little check with that. Our last one is balance. Being able to stand tall, bring the other leg behind you like that. It's just standardization. Not everybody can do this because of a hip limitation. So it's about being in that position there. We're looking for no loss of height, no tilt, and no wobble, wobble, wobble. So we should technically be able to stay here for 10 seconds with our eyes closed. Uh, but if there's too much wobble here, the ankles could be weak. You might end up relying too much on your joints and not your muscular system. Your muscles should absorb force, and if they don't, the joints will. That will cause a joint problem. Also, if your balance is off and it's off both sides, that can indicate an inner ear problem. And if that's the case, all muscles will be tight. And this is where the person gets very stiff. They almost lose height. For most of them, they actually do. And it doesn't matter how much stretching you do for that. You'll never beat a vestibular problem with stretching. You have to get very specific with it. So some little tips there, pass it on. Not just for people that are active. Everybody should be able to do those little maneuvers. This is great for your kids in sports. So many times, virtually all the time, kids are just, there you go, there's your sports. And the coach is just working on skills. Fitness, just run them, run them, run them, versus movement quality. They don't have the movement quality, they are far more likely to break down. In fact, if they have an asymmetrical movement pattern in any of those patterns, they are 2.7 times more likely to get injured than if they didn't have those movement imbalances. So really worth while checking that out for yourself. If you have questions, please do come back to me. I'm more than happy to answer your questions, and please do spread the word. Thanks a million for watching, and I hope that's a pain-free, smooth, free-flowing movement screen for yourself. All the best of luck.